Finally back with some good fucking food. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episode 8 of Delicious in Dungeon. It's been a couple months since we put this on hold, but we are back. And yeah, I'm excited to get to more of this. I've missed this series. This is definitely one that I've really wanted to get back into. And now we have the chance because we rolled this randomly last week. For those who don't know, last week we re-rolled the randomizer wheel in order to pick a replacement for Kim's Convenience. Because Kim's Convenience I decided to put on hold for the time being. All the info is in that last Kim's Convenience video, and I believe I made another video about it as well. So if you want all the info for that, go there. But yeah, so I needed a new first impression continuation series, and so I just re-rolled the wheel, and this is what came up. So we are back. Like I said, I'm very excited to be back with this. I really did want to get back to this series as quickly as possible, so hey, only a couple months, not that bad. Definitely better than some shows we've had on the channel and all. Some longer breaks we've had between seasons, or even just, in general. So last time was the mermaid episode. The mermaids, or sirens, or whatever, were singing their songs, and Laios came through singing along with them. He learned the song and everything. But he was annoying to them, and they just kind of left. And that's what I remember from the last episode. But in general, from the first 7 episodes, the biggest thing for me, outside of just the general humor, concept, the different recipes and stuff we've gotten, the big thing that just really, stood out in those first 7 episodes was the one elf character. When Laios went into the paintings, this was, I think, episode 5 or 6, he went into the living paintings and was, in the past of the castle that this dungeon now is. And he got to see, the lineage, the royal lineage there, but there was also an elf who, I guess, was from that time and was serving the king. Well, both kings that we saw through there. The original king and his son. And this elf was seen in these multiple different time periods that Laios traveled to through the paintings. And then eventually caught him in the last time period he went to. The elf, cornered him, and it's okay, you've been here for all these different events. Who the fuck are you? And was about to attack him, but Laios managed to escape in time. And it made it very clear through a lot of the context and everything that this character is excessively important. We don't know how, because it didn't tell us, and since that episode, it hasn't really, done anything more with that yet. But it's that's gotta be super important for later on. Because just the fact alone that the history of those living paintings were the history of this castle, that again is now the dungeon that they're traveling, that has to be a major plot point of the series. There's no way it couldn't be. So, excuse me. For the first 7 episodes, of this season. That is definitely the standout moment and the biggest, I guess you could say, mystery and everything that we've had so far. Everything else has mostly just been interesting, fun, kind of goofy, a little bit of world building, stuff like that. But that was something different and special, and I'm very curious about it. So I don't know what's gonna happen next. I will say I have been spoiled to like one or two things, but I don't know when they take place, and I don't know like full context behind everything. I just know of certain things basically. Which is, if I'm gonna get spoiled, at least I don't know context. That's somewhat of a positive. And it's basically like a couple things that I just couldn't avoid because it's like it was everywhere. It's one of those cases where everyone was talking about it. There was like fan art everywhere and shit everywhere. It's just like I couldn't avoid seeing it. Believe me, I obviously try to avoid any spoilers where I can, but it's like this was just something that was so like everywhere that it was impossible for me to avoid. Um, Excuse me. Sorry for the yawning, but like I said, I don't know context. I don't know what leads to it or whatnot. And some of you might already know at least one of the things I'm talking about. Um, but yeah, like I said, it's it's something I couldn't avoid. I don't know any context behind it. I just know it's a thing. So we'll see how it ends up turning out. But, but, I'm just excited to see more of this series, to hear more of the great performances, and to see where this all goes. Hopefully, get more info on the bigger mystery and this elf character and whatnot. Excuse me. And there might even be some things that I maybe can appreciate more now that I've started playing Baldur's Gate 3 and stuff. Though to be fair, I've played D&D prior, so it's like there's certain things I've understood already anyway. Although this series also does some things differently than other media, such as the mimics and whatnot. So it's also like certain things will definitely click with me a little better, but certain things will also still be its own kind of interpretation. So there you have it. Sorry for all the yawning. Jesus. I shouldn't be like tired or anything. I don't know why I'm doing this. um anyway, we're gonna get on with this, see what this episode has in store, and hope for the best. So let's see what happens in this episode of Delicious in Dungeon. Let me cut in here real quick to remind you that we have a lot of awesome content on the channel. A plethora of series reactions every Monday through Friday, with 2 on Friday. We also have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday, as well as a few Let's Plays on the channel. We alternate days between Horizon Forbidden West and Baldur's Gate 3, and Anno Mutationum is on Saturdays. Please go to the description below and follow the link to this video's reaction. It is redirected for copyright. And don't forget to like and subscribe for all future content on Princess of Gay. Thank you so much. See you all at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I know it's a very divisive food, but I like liver. I think it's good. Of course, I also like a lot of really weird shit, so I'm a very adventurous eater. I'm willing to try anything at least once. Except maybe certain, like most bugs, probably. But I'm willing to try almost anything at least once. Even some like really wild shit and like organs and stuff. I've had like pork brain. I've had all kinds of like gizzards and innards and stuff. Um, and I like it. I think it's great. But certain things I can understand why they're a little more divisive. And liver is one of those. Liver, it's like, I like it, but I get why some people may not. Especially with the texture of it, because it's not like regular meat in terms of its texture. I would describe it as like kind of grainy almost. Um and odd. I haven't had it in quite a while, to be fair, but that's kind of what how I view it. I think it tastes good still, and I'm fine with the texture. Certain textures do bother me, but that's not one of them. Texture of tomatoes, for example, makes me puke. Like literally too. It's like I genuinely gag if a tomato is like slimy, um, wet texture like hits my mouth. That's why I can only have like tomatoes prepared in certain ways. Basically, other things have to offset the texture. I can have tomatoes usually if they're diced and like put in a euro. I can have those in that. I can have tomatoes like uh, in chili and things like that usually. It just has to be prepared in certain ways. And this is this is one of those shows actually where I can go off on these little tangents about food and stuff and it actually works because it's like obviously me talking about the texture of tomatoes isn't really important to this episode, though it did stem from the liver talk. Um, but it still works because this is still a show about food and about cooking and stuff, and so it's like going off on a tangent about food and different things and all of that still works. Um, but this episode was a really good episode to come back on because it almost feels like the next stage of this quest. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like starting coming back into this series here works from a narrative perspective. Taking a break between episode 7 and 8, if it makes it feel like, oh, the first 7 episodes are kind of like one act of the story, and this was like the second act, and it gives us massive backstory to both Marcel and Fallon, shows how they met, gives us information about just Fallon's character that we haven't really gotten yet, her connection to not only Marcel, but even a little bit of her connection with her brother, her knowledge of things around her that Marcel would like overlook with her magic studies and all. And it also gives us an amazing fight sequence that our heroes aren't able to overcome, by the way, which I think is great. That they didn't actually win. Marcel gets like notably injured, uses up all her mana, and the others basically just have to get her out of there while running. The animation is phenomenal in this episode, and it brings in the return of one of the former party members, this buff redheaded lady. I'm not 100%, but I think she might be a dwarf. I don't know if it's said already, but maybe we'll see. I don't know. Um, but yeah, it shows at the end that she and I guess her new party are headed down to meet up with them. They can smell the cooking and they're headed down in that direction. And by it showing her again here, as well as showing previously earlier on in the episode, when her and the other party member left after Fallon being eaten by the dragon and all, it's like it's very clear they're bringing her back into the story. That's what's going on here. And yeah, this just feels like the start of like a second act. Like things are really starting to kick off in a very in a bigger way. And we're really starting to get into the meat of this series, pun very much intended. I think taking the break after 7 was just exceptionally smart. Of course, I could have never expected this. I would have never in my life like expected that it would work out this perfectly. But I mean, I guess I just got lucky there. I just chose episode 7 to leave it off on because at the time it just made the most sense and it just worked and everything. I was just at that point where I just needed to take the break from it, and it was just the right moment and everything. So I'm really happy that it worked out so well. um but yeah, this is really good. And even though there wasn't like a huge amount that like really happened to progress the journey in the dungeon and towards saving Fallon, the fact that there is still this much is still really impressive. It was still a very investing episode. It still had the cooking aspect of it. Like, it didn't cut that out either. Even if it was, not in there much, it was still in there. It was still shown in the end with them cooking up the Kelpie parts and having Marcel eat the liver to help with her healing and whatnot. It was like it was great. it was a really good episode. And I'm even more excited to see now how this reunion is going to happen next episode. And maybe with this new party's help, they'll be able to take out this water spirit creature. That would help. That would help too. We also got like a kind of a glimpse into like certain aspects of world building in this, such as with spirits and whatnot, and how they feed off of mana and everything. So there's still that aspect of things as well. Just overall, like, this was just a really solid episode. But I would love to hear your thoughts. So tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this episode of Delicious in Dungeon? And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.